Hi, and welcome to How to Find Your Life Path with Karmic Astrology. My name is Joan Port, and I'm a karmic or evolutionary astrologer. And what that means is when I look at your chart, your astrological chart, I'm looking at what past life energies you are bringing forth into this lifetime. Now, some of them are benefits. Some of them make you do things that people say, how the heck do you do that so easily? It just comes to you. But some of them are blockages. And these blockages prevent you from having the fullest life that you can have. It's like your car literally stuck in a rut, and you're gunning the transmission and gunning the transmission, and the wheels are spinning and you're not going anywhere because you're repeating the same things over and over again that simply do not work. What we do is we take first of all, just illuminating these blockages, and I'm going to show you a little bit later how just learning why I was doing something really had, that aha moment people talk about. And so we illuminate it, and then I tell you where these blockages are, where they came from, why they were being caused. This is all in your chart, so that by slowly, cranking that blockage open, opening those valves, the positive energy comes through, and you can live the life that you were designed to live. I tease my clients, and I say, you don't want to go back to the first grade. If you're going to reincarnate, go through all that energy and wind up back here on Earth, you don't want to keep going back to the first grade and doing that over and over again. You want to grow. You want to evolve. So evolutionary astrology helps you grow, change, and live the life that you were destined to live. I like to say that the soul records the fingerprints of time, and that sounds a little bit spooky, but it really isn't. And I say, back in the 12th century, somebody said to you, geez, that's an ugly tunic, or, you dress funny, or whatever the vernacular was at the time. You don't remember that now. You don't remember that incident, but you remember the imprint. You have like a karmic hit on you somewhere deep in your subconscious. So just think of what happens if you have lifetime after lifetime of physical abuse or emotional abuse, of somebody telling you you're dumb, you're stupid, you can't do, you're not allowed to. You sort of box yourself in, and that's what causes these karmic blockages. Now, some people say to me, I don't know if I buy the past life stuff. It's interesting. It's okay, fine. Think of it just as something in your subconscious, some innate stoppage, blockage that you were born with. We're not, what's the word, tabula rasas, those clear slates. We all come in with something. And that's what we're unfolding here, what that something is, so that if there's some tweaking that needs to be done, we know where to look for it. And that's what I do. I look for that information so that you could move forward more gracefully, shall we say. So I call this sort of the rat on the wheel syndrome. If you feel unfulfilled in some way. I had a client once say to me, I asked her, are you happy? She looked at me and she said, well, I'm not unhappy, I guess. And that kind of hit her. She's like, oh, what a terrible response. I'm not unhappy, I guess. So we kind of worked on what was the root causes of this not able to be fully happy. And I had another client, I was looking at her chart, and I looked at her and I said, why the heck aren't you a minister or something? You were made to be a spiritual leader. And she got really misty-eyed, and she's like, oh, I wanted to, I had to leave school, and this happened, and that happened, oh, now I'm of a certain age. And I'm like, no, you can do this. And she did. She went back to school, and she is now a minister in a hospital. And she loves it. This is what she was meant to do. So this idea of, well, everything's sort of okay, I'm not really blocked, I'm just a little unfulfilled, that's also something that we could do by analyzing your chart. So these are some of the problems that you see repeated over and over again in a lot of people that come to me. Financial problems, picking the wrong romantic partner. Why am I doing this again? Why am I with this person again? People who are socially not adept. They feel like fish out of water. They can't approach people. They want friends, but they don't know how to do this. All of these things, even health, optimum health can be achieved with your astrological chart analysis, because there have been patterns that I've seen where people have used their health as weapons. And it was the only way for them to get attention if they were sick, if they had the vapors, if they were always collapsing. This was their only power source. And unfortunately, all of this stuff leaves an imprint, and those imprints lead to blockages. And I talked about sort of an awakening, if you will, that I had. This idea of wearing a mask or playing a role. You know, I come from a large family. I'm the youngest. And you know, everybody in particularly large families, they have roles to play. You're this one, you're that one. You know, you got the smart one, you got the smart aleck, you know. I carried that role. I left home at 17, but I carried that role. I carried those voices in my head. And when I started looking at charts, and of course looking at my own chart, I saw that my fourth house, which is the house of family roots, you know, it's very primal. And it's the house that we take off those masks. So it's the house where you have to look in the mirror and say, that's me, and I'm either uncomfortable or I'm comfortable with that person. So it's a very, as I said, primal, this is who I am kind of house. Well, I saw that house was ruled by Saturn, Capricorn, which is a very demanding sign. Capricorn is, you know, authority, and you must, and you have to, and you should. And I realized just by looking at that I was sort of carrying my image of what they expected of me, how I should act. I acted like this there, so I should act like this all the time, even though it wasn't who I really was. And believe me, just knowing, just that awareness did a whole lot to help me straighten that out and go on the right path. So that's the first thing I do with a chart, is bring awareness, and then we move on to the blockages. When I was a kid, thousands of years ago now, there was a song by a singer named Peggy Lee. If you're probably under 50, you don't remember Peggy Lee, but she sang a song called Is That All There Is? And here's some of the lyrics to that. And the song was, is that all there is to life? Let's keep dancing and bring out the booze. And I watched a lot of people of my mother's generation, who are now my age then, very unsettled by that song, because it is a song about settling. And that's one of the things that we uncover, is where are you settling in this lifetime? We don't want to settle. You know, you came back, you want to move forward, you want to evolve, you want to really experience life. And you don't want to settle. So let's get over the settling and move on to more fulfilling lifetimes. I also see a lot of fear in people. You know, and I say, is fear your guide? And they balk at this sometimes. But again, if you are living in boxes for so long, you develop these fear patterns. I can't step out. I can't be that person. So fear also comes up a lot in these charts, and we kind of work our way through that fear factor. So what do? I weave a story. When I look at a chart, and I very rarely spend a lot of time studying a chart, I just sort of start yapping, and I unweave, I unleash it, if you will, and I see, okay, what's the past life? Where are the retrogrades? And those are planets that look like they're going backwards. What are these little blockages? And then we see the positives that come in, and then we see how you can be moving, and we work all of this together, and it unwraps a story, and it's like a beautiful gift. It's a map. In fact, I started calling myself a GPS, because I don't go anywhere. I don't go down the street without a GPS. I can't find my way out of a paper bag with 2 scissors. I am horrible. So I say, I get along with my GPS, now let me be your GPS of life. And I've been doing this now, I've been studying astrology for a long time, close to 40 years, but I've been doing evolutionary astrology for close to 15 years, and I can tell you it's just a wonderful map. You need a roadmap, right? You need somebody to guide you in this lifetime. And this is universal energy that's a gift to you to show you how to get the most out of your life. So I give you this roadmap, and I give you this guide, you know, and I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist. I'm reading the energy in the sky. So, but I do it without woo-woo. So if you're expecting someone in saffron robes to come down and speak like they're from on high, it's not me, okay? I'm a girl from New Jersey. And I have to tell you, I had a chart done by a woman who is actually a very knowledgeable astrologer. And this is when I was first studying Karmic Astrology. So I knew the terms. I had some education. And the whole chart was her telling me about squares and secti septiles, and just showing me how much she knew and how many big words she could use. And I vowed at that time that I would never be, woo-woo, I'm the ascended master. No, I'm just doing this. I have this knowledge. I can read your chart, but I'm not mystical. I'm not from some cloud. And I would always use real words because that's what you understand. It's real life, so we're going to use real words. And there's another video on here called Demystifying Astrology that I did a while ago that kind of tells you a little bit more about my very basic philosophy. And at the end of this, I'm going to tell you about the solar eclipse chart. Now, there is a majorly cool solar eclipse coming across the United States at the end of August. But this energy is going to ripple through from 2017, 2018, 2019. And I've been doing solar eclipse charts for my clients, and it's really wonderful because you can see where this energy can really revitalize a certain part of your chart. So that's a little bit later, but stay tuned for the solar eclipse energy. So as I said, I've been studying astrology for seems like 1,000 years now. I am a graduate of the Soul Sign Evolutionary Astrology course. I've taken some really very good courses in medieval and Celtic astrology, which I weave into this. And I don't know how many astrologers have been written up in the Washington Post, but I have. So I bring this knowledge to you. So let's get started and see how you can unleash this energy and break blockages, overcome some of the stymied things that have been blocking your life, and get on with making the most important decisions of your life and opening up your life to receiving the universal energies. And that's all it is. Okay, so now let's get to the fun stuff. Let's get to the stuff of what I do and how I do it. Now remember, when I do your chart, this is a full interpretation, right? So you're going to get 60 to 90 minutes of me telling you all about your chart. I can't do that for every chart I'm going to show here. We'd be here all day. But I'm going to pick snippets of each chart to give you a flavor of what I do and introduce you to the basics of astrology. Now, the first things I look at are the north and the south nodes. And you'll see these on your chart. They're little horseshoes, and I have pictures here showing you what these are. Now, let's not get too astronomyized, is that a word? But basically, the north and south nodes are the moon's nodes. They're not visible. They're not a real thing. They're like the axis of the earth. Remember when you were a little kid and you learned how the earth spins on its axis? Well, when the moon goes on the ecliptic, which is this path that everybody goes around the sun, it crosses the ecliptic of the sun. And where it crosses both north and south are these nodal points. And where they were when you were born tells me a great deal about your past life energy and what you're bringing in to start. So that's where I always start with a chart. So let's start with Aries. It's the first sign, and it's the sign of the typical male. Aries is ruled by Mars, so men are from Mars, women are from Venus. So someone born with a south node, where they're coming from is the south node, in Aries, is going to have a certain amount of aggression, certain amount of drive. Now remember, every sign has a spectrum. You have someone who is like the junkyard bully, right? That's way too much Aries. I'm going to, you do what I say, you do how I say it, and that's it. And then you have someone with a way underdeveloped Aries that might be like a Casper milquetoast who lets people beat on them, who swallows their anger. So you have to remember, everything is on a spectrum and everyone falls in a various spot. This chart, this person, I call it stuck in Aries because, oh my gosh, she was Aries in overdrive. And you see the south node there, up in the 11th house. And right next to it is the sign for Mars. And by the way, when you get a chart from me, you get a full explanation. I call it my Astrological Notes, and it contains all of these glyphs, all of these explanations, so you can really follow along with your chart. And so the ruler of her south node is right on the south node, meaning she is Aries personified. And it's in the 11th house, which is the house of friends and partners and group coming together, right? So it's where you find your tribe. And she couldn't understand why, people were getting very frustrated with her, and her husband was about to leave her, but she had to have everything her own way and had to just talk and talk. You see her rising sign is Gemini, the talker. And she just dominated every situation with her words. And this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to do it, and da da da. And just by saying, okay, now wait a minute, you need to leave Aries behind. Nothing wrong, nothing bad about Aries. There's nothing bad about your South Node. It's just you need to kind of move into Venus, because the opposite sign of Aries is Libra. And Libra is ruled by Venus. And she also has Venus next to that South Node, meaning there's been many lifetimes where she's had the opportunity to get into Venus, but she's, stuck in that rut, stuck in that Aries rut. And we talked through this, and I have a number of healers that if, you want referrals or you might have your own methodologies to do, we kind of got her to ease back, ease off all that Aries energy and open to Venus. And that's the shift from the South Node to the North Node. So this is the chart of famed designer Coco Chanel. Now her South Node is in Taurus, which is ruled by Venus. So it's a little bit opposite of what we just talked about. Venus, of course, is creativity, the goddess of love and beauty. And she has this in the 4th house, very primal house. So she came into this lifetime with a lot of this Venus energy, the creativity, the design. But her North Node is Scorpio. And if you know the story of Coco Chanel, she had a pretty rough life. She was not born into a life where someone would say, oh, here, use all of your talents and go and design. She came from the way wrong side of the tracks. So she had to use this Scorpio energy, which is change and transformation, to really remake herself. So she went from Venus in the 4th house to Scorpio in the 10th. 10th is career and social status. She completely remade herself. And she did it in the best way. She used the talents that she got from that Venus South Node. Because again, there's nothing wrong with your South Node. But she used the gifts and transformed herself and used them and put them into the public, 10th house. So this is a perfect example of someone who used the benefits of the South and puts it into the North. And when you get my North Node workbook, it'll tell you, it goes step by step, not only how to recognize if you're stuck too much in that past, but how to use that past energy, use those gifts to get you out of the rut and boost you into your soul's desire, your life's goal, the where you should be to receive this universal energy. Now this is my chart, and you notice I took the dates off. But this is my journey from Gemini. And people always said to me, can't you shut up for 1 minute? And I never knew why I couldn't shut up for 1 minute. And I never knew why I was kind of a jumpy, nervous, jumping around little tick-filled kid who was always like sitting in my seat with the feet going and the hands waving. Well, I'm Italian, so the hands waving comes naturally. But I was just, full of all this energy. Well, it comes because I'm a Gemini South Node. And mine's in the 8th house. So Gemini is the communicator, right? The little guy on those flower trucks or the delivery truck with the little gold boots, that's Mercury. He was the messenger of the god. So you are very good at communicating, right? You're very good at speaking. You're very good at social functions. You're very good, if you're a Gemini and a pretty balanced Gemini, at getting your point across. But you can have these negatives, these tics and all these things I had. And also because it's in the 8th house, it's in the house of power. By doing a full analysis of my chart, I realized I was a pretty good mouthpiece for people in power. I could say their words. I could, whatever they wanted out there, I could put it out there. But I didn't have my own voice. I lost that power. So by going from Gemini, which is, I know everything about everything, I could talk about everything, into Sagittarius, where's my North Node, what I have to learn in this lifetime is to hone in on one topic, to become a specialist, astrology, and to speak my own words, to speak my own truth, although that phrase gets me a little bit itchy, speaking your truth, but to say my words, say my beliefs, and hold to them and put them out there. So I think I'm on the right path. It's not easy, but I'm getting there. So this is my journey from Gemini to Sag. Now this is a chart of someone with a Cancer South Node, and I titled it Capricorn Thwarted. Now you see the traits of Cancer are sort of like mommy energy, motherly, very emotional. Cancer is ruled by the moon, very someone who feels a great deal. And someone with a Cancer South Node is going to Capricorn. So it's like mommy to daddy. You know, Capricorn is rules and structure and getting authority and stability over your lifetime. And this is someone with Capricorn in their second house, which is the house of stabilizing and securing yourself in the physical world. And the reason I titled it, you know, Capricorn Thwarted, is because this person does not do any Capricorn things. They are deeply in debt. And, you know, I said, look, why don't you go see my financial advisor? He'll do pro bono. And of course, the financial advisor's hair caught on fire because this person is not a young chicken and just debt and debt and debt and just piling on more and more debt. And unfortunately, it did come crashing down. She's in serious financial, physical shape too. It's affecting her health. And I don't mean to be a downer. And I don't mean to imply that your South Node is punishment and karma is bad. But this is someone who, by doing the full analysis of the chart, I could tell has been stuck in this, you know, Cancer emotion. Oh, I'm just going to go do this and go do that. And, oh, the money will take care of itself. Been stuck for so long that finally you reach that point where the universe just has had it. And it just all comes crashing in. So I try to prevent as much as I can people from doing this because, again, you want a fulfilled life, a happy life, a successful, healthy life. And unfortunately, you know, not everybody reaches that and not everyone listens. So you know, this is sort of counterbalancing the Coco Chanel move, but this is something that unfortunately didn't work. Being from New Jersey, being of Italian derivation, I had to put Frank Sinatra in here, right? And he's an example of someone coming from a Leo South Node. Now, Leo, of course, is ruled by the sun. Leo likes to be the center of attention, right? Because everything revolves around the sun. It's the king, it's the lion, and you can see that in Sinatra. As an aside, you can also see his Scorpio rising, that rising sign. What's on the ascendant is your personality. So even though he was very, I'm the boss, I'm the king, I'm the chairman of the board, he had his secret side. He wanted to control that energy. He wanted to control the life force that people were throwing at him. And so people say, well, he must be terribly stuck in his South Node. He never moved into his opposite sign. Not true. If you're born with a Leo South Node, your North Node, where you're going to get all that universal energy, is Aquarius. So where Leo is, I'm the center, I'm the king. Aquarius is very kumbaya. Aquarius is all about brotherhood and humanity and helping people. So if you know anything about Sinatra's life, you know that he supported an awful lot of musicians and people whose career went down the drain. He was also instrumental in getting Sammy Davis Jr. his house, because Sammy Davis Jr., as famous as he was, as rich as he was still African American. And this was 1950, 60 America, and he was not allowed to buy houses in certain areas of California. So Sinatra went in, bought the house in his name, and sold it to Sammy Davis Jr., did an end around. And he's also famous for stopping productions, stopping performances, and saying, there's not enough black faces in this band. Get me some black performers. So you don't have to jump completely in one lifetime into your North Node. So you're not a failure if you don't exhibit every positive aspect of your North Node. This is incremental. This is baby steps. So yes, he did do a lot of work on his Aquarius North Node, and who knows what next time he'll make even bigger strides. I admit this one's for me. I had to use the chart of Mark Harmon. I'm a woman of a certain age, and I'm sorry, he's hot, so I had to put him in there. But he's also a very good example of someone else who is using his South Node in service to his North. If you look there in the 11th house, up there in the quadrant, you see he's got a ton of planets there, including his South Node, and they're all in Virgo. So on that spectrum I was talking about, someone who's deeply, way over too much Virgo, very self-critical, very, I'm just the cog in the wheel, I'm the servant, I'm Cinderella, I'm just good to keep, everything going. But someone who's got a good handle on the Virgo is someone who doesn't have a huge ego, someone who works well in teams. And this is in the 11th house, the house of group activity. So of course he was the star quarterback. And I remember reading an article many years ago, and it was entitled something like Mark Harmon's quiet control of the NCIS crew. And that's just very Virgo. So it's very this quiet, I'm not the boss, I'm not the big shot, I'm very self-deprecating. He says when he looks in the mirror, he sees false teeth and football scars. That's not what I see, but just saying. But his North Node, because the opposite sign of Virgo is Pisces, is creativity. And it's in his house of creativity. So again, he could have said, no, I'm not good enough, I'm not creative enough, I'm just going to be a cog in the wheel. Or he did what he did and said, all right, I've got this creative outlet, I'm going to pursue it, but I'm using all the good of Virgo. I'm not going to be a jerk. In fact, I think there was one interview where he said, I'm not going to be a jerk. When I get married, I'm going to be married for life. I'm not going to, you can make it as a nice person in this business. And he did. And so this is, again, a very good example of using the benefits, unclogging, whatever blockages were there, and living fully in his North Node. This is another one of my problem children charts, but she is making progress. She comes from a Libra South Node, and I have Libra rising, right? So my ascendant, my personality sign is Libra. So I know what a pain Libra can be, right? So on the best side, Libra is the social diplomat, the people who brings people together, the entertainer. The negative side of Libra is codependence, because it's all about the other person. So it's a case of, who am I unless you tell me who I am? And this person has Libra in the first house, that house of personality. She has a Libra South Node and a Libra rising, so she's got double Libra energy. And it's all about, she keeps marrying people because she's gorgeous, right? Libra, creativity, beauty, the goddess of beauty and love. So she's like the trophy wife, and she just changes herself. So if this guy is an athlete, she's an athlete. If this guy loves to entertain, she loves to entertain. She has almost no sense of self, but she's making those baby steps. She's finally married someone who has said to her, well, what do you want to do? Who do you want to be? And her North Node is in the 7th house, the house of marriage and partners. So she's finally becoming a solid person and saying, no, I want that. No, I don't want that. So she's making baby steps, but it's been a very long haul with her. Scorpio. Okay, Scorpio is my sun sign. Sun is your inner energy. But this is a chart of a woman with a Scorpio South Node. And she's a friend of mine, good friend of mine. And Scorpio loves drama. Scorpio loves passion. They love to be in the center of everything. And it's in her 4th house, that primal house. And I tell you, you have a sickness, and she's great in this. You have a sickness, she's there. Her kids have a problem, she's there. She wanted, her son got married, and she wanted to take over the wedding. They're not doing it right. And I had to say, because I'm a friend, their wedding, cool it. So she's got to be in the mix of everything, and she's into politics, and which is a great thing, but it's consumes her. So I'm like, all right. And it was starting to really affect her health. She got very sick and scared the heck out of many of us. And I said, you've got to go to Taurus. Leave the Scorpio passion and drama. You've got to find the bull. In fact, I bought her a statue of a little, one of those cheesy bulls, Ferdinand the Bull. I said, you've got to find your Taurus energy. And she's like, well, I have this paint kit that I have, but I haven't used it in years. I'm like, get the paint kit out, go to this class. And she has baby steps. I see those paints out on her table, and she's given up a lot of things, but she's moving into that Taurus, Venus, acceptance and grounding in reality, except looking for every passion. So it was touch and go there, but she's doing it. And anybody can do it. She's going to hate me for saying this, but she's no spring chicken. This is a woman in her 70s. So it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter how young you are. Right? Everybody can make these steps. This one I've entitled, It's Not All About the Money. And remember I talked about the person with the Cancer South Node who sort of went la-di-da, and just spent and spent? Well, this is someone with the opposite. This is someone born with a Capricorn South Node. So they're coming from Capricorn. And Capricorn, like I said, is the daddy. It's authority and stability and, rulership over yourself. And, think of Saturn, the ruler of Capricorn, as having those rings around it, right? And so it's very restrictive. And it's structure and order and all those things we need. But again, where are you on the spectrum? So this is a woman who is married to a guy, nice guy, but someone who didn't hold the job too well. Made money, but money making was not his forte, let's put it that way. And the marriage kind of dissolved and he disappeared. And then suddenly this Capricorn South Node person was like, oh, I have to go pump my gas. Well, so-and-so used to pump my gas. Oh, and I got to clean the house because so-and-so used to clean the house when he came home from whatever job he had. And her friends, she's like, my friends kept looking at me funny, all these other women. And, oh, I got to go get my car inspected? So-and-so used to get my car inspected. And they're like, are you serious? You had a husband who cleaned the house, who got your car inspected, who pumped the gas, who took care of the lawn, and for 20 years you call this guy a useless waster? We would kill to have our husband do one of those things one at a time. And she had a very rude awakening, if you will, to the idea of opening up to that Cancer energy, the heart energy. She saw him, she saw that marriage as utility, money. He can't produce that Capricorn safe feeling that I want. I have to go be the breadwinner. And I'm not saying that's a lovely feeling to have. I'm sure that was very difficult for her. But she didn't open up to anything else that he was doing until he was gone. So she kind of got a universal, slap in the back of the head kind of thing. And she moved into her Cancer North Node. She's aware of this energy now, but it was a very, very painful price. So this is why you need to have that GPS, to have that guide, so that those mistakes don't happen, that you don't get that hit in the head, that you can make those baby steps that we were talking about. And the next time you come around, you won't be in the first grade again. You'll have progressed, you'll have evolved. Your soul will have moved on, and the more blockages you remove now, the better off you'll be next time around. So I look at your chart, and I see the past life energies that are coming from this chart. And some of them are gifts, some of them are benefits, right? You have talents that people say, how do you do that? And how does that come so easily? But some of them are blockages, and these blockages are sort of like your wheels keep spinning, right? You're stuck. You keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again. And it's literally like you're a car in a rut and the transmission's going and you're giving it the gas, but you keep spinning. And you make the same financial decisions, romantic decisions, social decisions, career decisions. They're not right. They're not working. And you're like, where am I? And that's where I come in, because I am your astrological GPS. I can't find my way out of a paper bag. I need my GPS to go around the block. To have a GPS of your life, to help you follow the path that, universal energies will shine on you, literally, when you are in that path, is phenomenal. So I give you a full chart. You get a printout of where the sky was, where the planets, the asteroids, everything was at that moment that you entered Earth. And then you get a full 60 to 90 minute audio of yours truly unpacking each piece of the chart. Your rising sign, your personality, your sun, your inner energy, what this asteroid, that asteroid. And you get my astrological notes, because I don't want to make this confusing. I don't want to be the oracle from on high. I want to make this something that you understand. So you get a really thick packet of, what does that little sign mean? What does that planet mean? What does this house mean? So that you can delve into this as much as you want. And then you get my North Node workbook, which is this is what your node is, so this is what this node is. If your South Node is here, your North Node is here. And if it's in this house, how does this express? And how can you use this energy? So it's piece by piece by piece. And now I have the solar eclipse chart, because we're having a major solar eclipse in August of 2017. But that energy of the eclipse, where it hits in your chart, will have an impact for at least 18 months. So you can use this very fiery solar eclipse. I mean, the sun will be in Leo, Mars will be in Leo, everything is in this fire energy and how it can ignite your chart. So in addition to the regular chart, you have the opportunity to get this solar eclipse literally once in a lifetime chart as well. So that's the basic astrology package that you'll get from me, but there's a lot more.